Why is the guitar tuned the way it is? What is the significance of the notes of the open strings? Essentially, the guitar is tuned pentatonically. You could call the tuning of the guitar a pentatonic tuning. Many people will say that this guitar tuning, the standard tuning, is just crazy. You have a fourth between E and a fourth between A and D, a fourth between D and G, and then we have a major third followed by another fourth between B and E. E, A, D, G, B, E. It is not a sequence of identical intervals. A fourth, a fourth, a fourth, a third, and a fourth. So what's up with that? One theory is that the guitar is tuned the way it is to facilitate the playing of bar chords. Of course, naturally, if you play a bar chord and you span all 6 strings with one finger, you're going to have the same note on the highest pitch string and the lowest pitch string, the same note class. So if this is an A, this will also be an A, etc. And you can play bar chords because you know that the lowest note and the highest note will match. Well, that sort of makes sense until you realize that there are several other instruments that basically use the same tuning system as the guitar. And those instruments are the oud, which is essentially a fretless lute, and the viola da gamba, or the viol family of instruments, which are bowed string instruments, which have frets, like the guitar, and have 6 strings. Now, in the case of the viola da gamba, the 6 strings are tuned D, G, C, E, A, and D. So you have the same basic system in the sense that there are 4 fourths, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C. Then there's a major third in the middle between the 4th string and the 3rd string, C, D, E, followed by E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So you have a very similar system. Now, the viola da gamba is not an instrument which is used to play chords. It's a bowed instrument with a very curved, radiused fingerboard, and so nobody is playing bar chords on the viola da gamba. So why is that instrument tuned the way it is? The other instrument is the oud. Now, the oud is tuned to the notes C, F, A, D, G, and C. These are double courses of strings, sort of like a 12-string guitar, and one of the strings, the lowest string, is a single course. The tuning of the oud uses, again, the same basic formula, but the major third falls between the 4th and the 5th string, with everything else being a 4th. Now, the oud has no frets, and it is really typically not used to play chords, especially something like a bar chord. It's just not really all that practical on the oud and won't really sound all that good. So why is the oud tuned the way it is? The viola da gamba, the oud, and the guitar all share the same basic tuning principle. That is to say, 4 fourths and 1 major third, even though the major third is distributed in a different place on each instrument, which itself is kind of interesting. But what do all those tunings actually have in common? What they have in common is they are always the notes of a pentatonic scale in the way we usually think of pentatonic scales. If you play an E minor pentatonic, for instance, on the guitar, you will find that you use all the notes of the open strings in that scale, and that, in fact, all the notes of the open strings are the scale. The pentatonic scale extended into a series of fourths and 1 major third. That pattern is inevitable if what you do is you take the notes of a pentatonic scale and sequence them as a series of fourths. You will not get only fourths. You will get 4 fourths and a major third. And this is just simply obvious once you realize how the pentatonic scale is positioned on the guitar. And in fact, the pentatonic scale is one of the essential building blocks of the musical system that we use. All you have to do is look at a piano keyboard, and you will notice that there are 5 black keys. Well, those 5 black keys are, in fact, the notes of a pentatonic scale. And those 5 black keys are the notes that line up on the 11th fret of the guitar. So when you think about why the guitar is tuned the way it is, well, the pentatonic scale has to be a big part of the answer. Now, it's not all of the answer, because you might say, well, we can tune to the notes of a pentatonic scale, but does it have to be that pentatonic scale? Does it have to be those exact notes? After all, the viola da gamba and the oud use the same basic system, but they are tuning to a different set of notes. Well, that's very interesting, because if you take the notes of the pentatonic scale that the guitar is tuned to, which scale is it? It's an E minor, G major pentatonic scale. And the interesting thing about that is the sequence of notes that lead to the open strings all being a pentatonic scale, G major, E minor pentatonic. You might think, well, that means that the guitar is in E minor or G, that the open strings are not a C major pentatonic scale? Well, in fact, of course, the open strings are all in the key of C. And in fact, the pentatonic scale that you find in the key of C, well, there's more than one. There are 3 pentatonic scales in the key of C. C major pentatonic is in the key of C. Of course, that's also A minor. We're going to include the major and minor pentatonic scales together. So C major, A minor is in the key of C. E minor, G major is in the key of C. All the notes of this scale are in the key of C. D minor and F major are all in the key of C. So in fact, the C major pentatonic scale, C major, A minor, is in the center of the fingerboard, and the notes of that scale line up on the 5th fret. Now, looking at the notes on the 5th fret, we see that the lowest note is A, and the highest note is A, of course, and that's the minor tonic of the scale. The C on the 3rd string is the major tonic. The same thing applies in every fret position, so when we go to the 10th fret, the low D and the high D give us the minor tonic of the scale, and the F on the 3rd string gives us the major tonic. I hope you can see the pattern here. When we go back to the open strings again, the low E and the high E will be our minor tonic, and the G on the 3rd string will be the major tonic. Well, there really should be no mystery to this, and yet it really seems to fly under the radar screen. It's kind of overlooked. Just as the idea that the pentatonic scale forms an axis on the open strings, an axis on the 5th fret, and an axis on the 10th fret in the key of C, and that those 3 axis positions exist in every single key. And of course, this applies not just to the guitar, but to any instrument that makes use of this tuning. You can find the notes of the key aligning in 3 different positions, and of course, each of those positions is the tones of a pentatonic scale. Really understanding the tuning of the guitar means really understanding the pentatonic scale and how it relates to the key that you're playing in, regardless of what type of music you play. And remember, not just the pentatonic scale that is rooted in the tonic of the key, the 1, but the 4 and the 5. In the key of C, there is a C major pentatonic scale, there is an F major pentatonic scale, and there is a G major pentatonic scale in the same key. That means that each pentatonic scale can be in 3 keys. C major pentatonic is the 1 of C, the 4 of G, and the 5 of F. So next time you wonder why the guitar is tuned the way it is, it's a pentatonic tuning. There's so much more, of course, as always, and I really appreciate everybody who has subscribed, and if you haven't, please do. Like the video if you like it. If you don't, I'm trying. What can I say? You know, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm going to try to do better, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks a lot.